I actually never imagined an Assam without Zubinda. For me, I think in the very beginning, I must say, my introduction, my understanding, my identity of Assam, I think written in my piece as well, is laid out bare in Zubin's lyrics. Our social contracts with politicians, with the political class is eroding. We don't have faith in them. So people used to go to Zubinda. If there's a medical emergency, they would go to Zubinda because they knew Zubinda will help them with immediate cash.
हम लोग का क्या है, बात ज्यादा करता है, काम कम करता है.
हाँ.
पॉलिटिशियन का तो बहुत ज्यादा है, भाषण ही करते रहते हैं, काम कम करते हैं.
He had raised this entire issue some time ago about not felling the trees around, one part of Guwahati to build the flyover. He actually said that, we have everything. We have trees, we have rivers. And then we saw him during the NTCA protest also, Citizenship Amendment Bill protest. He led the protest. And so it was, and also I remember him, talking about it as a kind of, it's nothing to do with religion. He really separated it from religion. This is about the community.
I hope and I pray, if there is a God, that He's sensing the pulse of Assamese people. And if they are guilty, they be brought to justice. I mean,
Yes.
The community needs answers, right? Like, we have lost such a very big part of our existence. We need answers. And I share that rage and share that anger with everyone. We should not let Bollywood claim Zubinda. We should not let Bollywood kind of come and say that, like you can see, like when the news came out, a lot of like the mainstream media was quiet. It only when the algorithm kind of started churning out numbers, they said famous Ya Ali singer. But Zubinda is way more than Ya Ali.
Hello and welcome to The Wire. Today, I am bringing to you a young feminist academic who's London-based and is a research fellow at South Bank University in London and who has a PhD from SOAS University of London. But today, when I'm connecting with Megha Kashyap, I am connecting with her as a fellow Assamese and more so as a big fan of Assam's youth icon and celebrated musician Zubeen Garg, who we lost this past September 19th due to an accident that happened in Singapore, where he had gone to participate at the Northeast Festival, which was being held there. So welcome to this conversation, Megha.
Hi, thank you so much for inviting me.
I should start with, something a piece that you have written about Zubeen Garg, about how you dealt with this loss, and you were far away from Assam, So because what we are seeing in Assam is like thousands of people coming out, and visiting his house, walking on the streets, singing his songs, and we saw in his cremation also. They say that it broke all records, even global records. They say that there were more people than there were at the burial of Michael Jackson. So this is something we will go on to discuss. But I want to start this conversation by asking you why did you feel it as like kind of a personal grief? And also you were far away from home. How did you deal with that?
It's a very big question, Sangeeta. I actually never imagined an Assam without Zubinda. For me, I think in the very beginning, I must say, my introduction, my understanding, my identity of Assam, I think written in my piece as well, is laid out bare in Zubin's lyrics. Like the way he writes his songs and the way he sings, the way he pronounces Assamese words is something which I have grown up with my childhood and my adulthood. So when the news landed on my WhatsApp group, and I written in my piece as well, I was in Regent's Park, London, and it was a shock and denial. And I sat down on the bench and I was like, this is fake news. Like, this can't be true. So I Googled, and it wasn't on the news then because I think it was locally, the news was out and it wasn't there. And then I kind of kept looking for like good 5-10 minutes, and then suddenly the news started popping out. And the first reaction was, I need to speak to my mom, because I know my mom's alone and she's a massive big fan of Zubeen, and she's going to like have a breakdown. So I called up my mom, and she was in tears, and they were showing in the regional TV channel. And then for me, I was like, okay, I need to calm her down, because she's alone in the house, and then something might happen. There is no one in the house. So I tried to calm her down. And then, yeah, and I spoke to her, kept the phone. And then I went on about the day, evening when I came back to my flat. And then this is like auto tuned and auto programmed in my head. Like, I have Zubeen's playlist in my phone, and configured in my Spotify and my Amazon Music. I came home, I had a shower, and I asked Alexa to play my Assamese playlist in the evening. And then the first song, when it started playing, I just burst into tears. And like it was like incessant. I was like crying and crying and crying. And then I just felt that this loss is so personal. Like for me to imagine this person, Zubin did not even know I existed. But the fact that
Did you ever meet him?
the only time I came close to him was in 2003. I think I wrote in my piece as well. This was
Yes, we have.
yeah, there was a Judges Field live concert, Bihu, I think around April. My dad took me and my elder sister, and then he had long hair. He was wearing a black leather jacket, and then he walked out on the stage with a mic, and the first song he sang was Mayabini. And I've been in love with this person since then, 2003, as a child. So for me to like to come to terms with the fact that this person who defines my existence as an Assamese, and like to connect my identity of who I am, my core values, I will have to come to terms that this person is not there anymore. So I felt like a part of me is gone, like a part of me I could not hold on to, and the part of me is lost. And now how would I grapple with this fact that I probably a part of me who's Assamese is not going to be there anymore, and to come back to a place, to a home, to my homeland, where I won't hear his songs anymore, was something which was very, very difficult. I'm still grieving. Like this morning, first thing I do in the morning is I start my playlist, and I listen to a lot of Assamese songs. And since it's been day 10, and I'm still crying, I'm still grieving, and I haven't been able to work. I'm sure a lot of us share very similar feelings around the world. And these are like people all over the world. Like Assamese people are spread across the world, right? Like you said, like when I was on the train, I was going to Lancaster from London. I had a whole day workshop in University of Lancaster. I woke up in the morning on 22nd, 5 a.m., got on the train, sat down, and then I plugged on my earphones. And the first song which was played was Homo Eugen Thomokiro, which is like, so this is the thing, like the feelings I feel, the emotions I feel in my body. I mean, there's always in reference in his songs. Like there is no emotion that I feel in my body which doesn't have a reference in Zubin's songs. And in that song, there are like two lines which says, "Buku bhori ase mor omiya morom, teje teje diahi piyahi jibon." He tells us how to love and how to hold immense love in your body. So when those lines started playing, I cried from like London to Lancaster, 2.5 hour journey. I got down in the train station, and then I had to speak to someone who speaks in Assamese. Like I was really grappling with the fact that I'm in this foreign land, continents apart, crying at the death of this like legend, and nobody will ever understand what it means to be an Assamese right now. So I called up Monali Bharadwaj. She's based in Mumbai. I called her up. She's also in the, film industry. I called her up and I cried. I literally cried inconsolably. I sat down on the bench and I cried and cried. And then I remember two staff members in the station, they came up to me and they was like, "Are you all right?" And I was like, how do I explain to these people that I'm crying like this because a singer passed away? And that to be able to say that, the singer didn't even know I existed, but I'm like crying. He feels like a family member to me. So I just said, I'm somebody I really love passed away, and I'm really finding it hard to grapple with the truth. And bless them, they sat down next to me, gave me a hug, and said, like, "Do you want to go back?" They thought like this person is somewhere in the UK. I was like, "No, I mean, I can't go back. He's not based in London. He's based in India." And it was, yeah. And then I went on. I mean, I came to the university, but I just couldn't couldn't do anything. Like that's been my state since the news arrived and landed on my inbox. I haven't been able to do anything. I haven't been able to focus on work or on life. It's just been a shipwreck since then.
Mm, amazing. Your story is like, something that it's like so moving as a fan of Zubeen. I have actually seen when I was watching the television, there were a lot of these young people who were like in different parts of India, like say Bangalore, Delhi. They've taken boarded a flight and came home. They felt that they have to come home. That was, I think, the pool of Zubeen. I mean, like, it was more than a musician. We'll go there, but before that, I want to just ask you another question. This is also part of collective grief. Okay, it's not. I mean, I would say collective grief is as legitimate as personal grief.
Yeah.
Perhaps the only difference is that you may feel it individually, but here there are so many people, thousands of people feeling it, the same feeling. So collective grief is a very important and legitimate grief. So I want to ask you, so why have you asked yourself, why are you feeling that, why are you part of that collective grief? Did you ask yourself? Are you asking yourself?
It's very interesting, this question, because I feel like our individual griefs is connected to the collective grief of the community. And we as individuals, we are who we are because we have shared humanity with everyone else who shares similar feelings and similar emotions. So, and in many ways, the individual grief connects to the collective grief of the community. And this is something which I have been kind of questioning myself as well. Like, why am I feeling this pain in my body? Like this pain, the grief that I'm carrying, there is like a sea of grief, and I don't know how to process it, and I don't know how to deal with it. I was like, only I wish only I had the money to like just get on a flight and go see him once, just once, touch him. Or like, if I could, rewind back time, I would have just begged him not to go to Singapore. So those feelings and those emotions, and I'm sure a lot of us share the same feelings and emotions. It's part of the shared humanity we have as a community. And this also is because, when, like I said, like my generation, we have grown up to his songs. Like back in the 80s and 90s, when, with Assam agitation, and the rest of rest of India was enjoying the fruits of liberalization, Assam was grappling with its identity, with like the whole friction and the political relations with the post-colonial Indian state. And Zubinda's songs gave us hope to this community to fall in love with our culture, fall in love with our land, fall in love with the rice fields, the monsoon, the rains, the clouds. And because it has been part of my childhood and my adulthood, I just feel like, and I'm sure this is why while it connects to the collective grief, a lot of us have grown up to his songs, and suddenly we feel like a big part of our existence has been erased because he's not there anymore, and we'll not listen to his songs, and he will not be there for the rest of our lives. So this is a collective feeling and collective emotions for all of us, and I'm sure like a lot of us are grappling and coming, not being able to come to terms that he's not going to be there anymore. And that's something which is very and honestly, like this morning I was telling my mom that, I'm going to Assam in November. I was telling her I'm really scared to get on a flight and land in Guwahati and then realize he's not there anymore. Like, I'll probably have a breakdown in the airport because, I mean, I cannot come to an Assam where Zubinda isn't there because he's always been there. And this is why we take people for granted, right? Like, he will always be there. You never imagine like a future where Zubinda won't be there. So for me to accept that he's untimely passing away, that I'm going to land in an Assam where Zubinda won't be there, and it's something which I can't deal with. And we are seeing the after effects of like what's, things that are unfolding in the state right now, and how things are coming up in social media and all of that. And I don't know, Zubinda was a unifying voice for our community, which I feel we don't have that representation anymore. This is also like this is I mean, this is the academic in me. I'm thinking through like the political theories and like, the sociological aspects of being this unifying force. Zubinda actually lived these socialist values. He just didn't say I'm a follower of Shea. He just didn't say, I am a leftist. So he lived those values, and to witness those values. Now you can see, and then we are seeing all of the videos coming up on social media, how he's helped someone, for an eye operation, or he sat down with a rickshawala to have a tea, or he gave money to someone. There are so many stories like that we are seeing, and this is what the fact that people go to him instead of going to a politician shows how much of faith and how much of like love we had for this person. And it's almost like he's now gone. Who do we go to next? So that's the
Yeah,
collective grief, right?
Yeah, interesting. And I completely can identify, with this, what you were saying, because what we are seeing, of course, is what is unfolding in Assam since the last 9 days is what you were actually talking about. And of course, when, he had raised this entire issue some time ago about not felling the trees around, one part of Guwahati to build the flyover. He actually said that we have everything. We have trees, we have rivers, we have nature around us. We cannot tinker with it. He just said, and it became a movement. He led that movement, and the state had to back down. And then we saw, of course, just days after his death, those trees are gone now. Okay, and then we saw him during the anti-CAA protest, also Citizenship Amendment Bill protest. He led the protest, and so it was. And also, I remember him, talking about it as a kind of, it's nothing to do with religion. He really separated it from religion. This is about the community. Okay. So he gave a direction to the community many times whenever was needed. And when I was referring to the felling of the trees, people actually had come out. A lot of youth had come out and protested, and now we see at least 2 of them have been arrested, and the state government have arrested them under National Security Act. So this is related to my next question, because community, this kind of collective grief also has the power, history is proof, has the power of bringing in social change, can become a catalyst to question social injustices or other injustices. We are seeing this, everybody has got as if this collective grief has given them some sort of a collective power to question the government of the day, to question any wrong. They're actually asking also, was there any foul play that, that led to his death, so that is pushing the government to start a special investigation team, to form a team and start an investigation. So all of those things are there. So I want to ask you, how do you see this unfolding? As a watcher of society, as a watcher of indigenous communities, how are you thinking about that?
Definitely. So I have been kind of, I mean, of course, I journal, I write down my feelings. And as an academic, I'm used to like analyzing things from like a very political science, sociological, gender studies as well. I think this is of my personal view. Zubinda was a glue of social cohesion for us as a community. He was the glue which held us together despite whatever, we have seen during anti-CA movement. The way he commands people will just come out. The way he tells people don't come out, then people will not come out. So he was the glue which was like holding this social cohesion for all of us together. And this goes parallel with the eroding of social contracts we have in our society. So when I say social contracts is like the humanity that we have in terms of expecting a political elite class in politics, how they are treating the masses who vote them to power. So there is this inherent like eroding of social contracts. This is not just specific to Assam. If you look at like the global society, the global capitalist society that we live in, be it US, be it UK, everywhere we are seeing like the social contracts between people who vote the elite class to power. There's an erosion happening. We don't have a lot of faith in our politicians anymore, because
Mm,
obviously in an age of hyper information, we all know there is corruption. There is, politicians, they just fill their own pockets. And how now we are seeing the alleged accused, 2 of the people who were the organizers, how they have been mistreating public funds in the name of funding cultural festivals. And as self-appointed custodians of culture, Assamese culture. They are commercializing, corporatizing Assamese culture in festival formats. There could have been many different avenues to, talk about our culture. So I'm really against this festival format of putting out culture. And to be honest, like when I was in Delhi, this was I think 2013, 2012. I have never attended any of the festivals because inherently I'm against corporatizing of culture, and I've been very vocal about it as well. But Zubinda was the glue of social cohesion for for our community.
He was the
Now,
brand ambassador.
exactly, and now we don't have that. Now our glue is gone, and because our glue is gone, and and it is linked to like what happened to him was linked to at the altar of corporatizing culture. Our legend was sacrificed. So inherently, if you look at the broad picture fame, like I said, our social contracts with politicians, with the political class is eroding. We don't have faith in them. So people used to go to Zubinda. If there's a medical emergency, they would go to Zubinda because they knew Zubinda will help them with immediate cash and help them out. And I'm seeing so many videos of, there was one Reddit which said, apparently he came out of GMC and then he was getting on his car and there was somebody crying on the footpath, and then he just asked what happened, and this person said, I need money for surgery of my mother, which will cost 3 lakhs. And Zubin apparently just gave him 1.5 lakhs which he had in his car, and just said, just try and figure out the rest, just take this money. The fact that he did not ask for reports, he did not ask for like verifying whether what he's claiming is true or not, he lived his socialist values. And I think he's being very open about it, that he lives his socialist values. And inherently, I have this belief that all of us are good human beings. We want good things for others. And Zubinda kind of really showed that to us. And we aspired to be like, this is this person who is living his values versus politicians or the elite class who we of course vote to power. There's a big fan following, this mass following, but Zubinda's following is a whole different kind of it's a altogether a different way of understanding who this person and what this person means to us as a community. So I'm also questioning in terms of like the political theories, the sociological theories, and I feel like this is probably what love is. This is how you define love. Like the fact that this person's passing away is making the entire community cry. Like it's almost like all of us have lost a family member, right? Like there is puja, but now there's Durga Puja, Navratri happening, but it's very quiet. Like we are mourning the death of a family member as a community. So that's something which is very interesting to say. This is what I think, this is what love is. This is what unconditional love is. And now we know that this person who embodied, who showcased what is it like to live your own values is not there anymore. That loss becomes very personal to us. And it's not just because he is this legend and who is this like a singer who sang 40,000 songs. He stood up for causes. He stood up for CAA. He stood
Absolutely. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
he challenged the status quo. He challenged the state. He challenged Ulfa. He challenged like things that were oppressive to people. And he stood with common people all throughout. So now we know that we don't have that person who would put our voice and challenge the state, because we as individuals, we do not hold so much of like recognition as much as Zubinda has. And Zubinda was somebody who was a rebel. You could not tame him. He would just like challenge the status quo. And now we don't have that. And this is why it feels very personal. Like what
Yeah,
happens?
amazing. Yeah.
The
So when you're
family.
talking about him as a rebel, I was just thinking about him, the way he would dress up, his whole get up, would be something which is so unconventional. He would like, as we say in Hindi, there is a word tapori, people will just say, you dress up like that and uh, uh, be what he was. Okay. And prior to that, we actually saw, say, Bhupen Hazarika, also dressing up with the Nepali topi, he was a little stood out for me. Like I always, somebody was asking me, about Zubin's music. I said, I'm a child grew up with Bhupenda's music, and he, for me, defined for me the Assamese community, who Assamese community was, through his music, the famous song Mahabahu Brahmaputra, which is like which is not religion based, and it would accept new people, that kind of a identity of the Assamese community. And then, of course, I never could. I was just telling this person who's not from Assam, and I said, because I call Bhupen Hazarika Bhupenda and Zubeen not as Zubinda, means I belong to his generation. And there was one person I knew, if I had one person I knew had lived life on his own terms, it was Zubeen, So I happened to know him for a little while, and I knew what he stood for, and he would continue to, challenge the conventions, as you said. So, and of course, that has the huge power, unifying power, to cause any kind of social change or questioning the social injustices or other injustices. And that reminds me that only just today is, as we talk, 29th of September is the 10th day ritual of Zubeen. So in Guwahati and everywhere, people are mourning today. And just a day before that, we saw one of the world's richest man, Gautam Adani, who has a lot of business interest, in Assam, landing up at his house. And I was just thinking, I said, Zubeen would have been laughing, because he is that kind of a guy who would fight for the natural resources, and who would just, he was completely opposed to what Mr. Adani's work or what it stands for. So I was just thinking, and then when I just went to social media, I just saw the number of people replying to what he said, or even on Twitter too, that just don't touch our resources. He would have loved that. People were coming. We don't need you. That's kind of the response. From such a. I've not seen someone saying, great that one of the biggest stars of the business world had come. There was nothing like that. So people were opposing. They said, we don't need him. We don't need him. To come to visit and mourn for his death. So those kind of things. So Zubeen was, of course, a phenomena. But I want to also go into a little bit about the lyrics, because I mentioned Bhupenda. His lyrics were something that made us who we are today. When I question something within the Assamese community that this is not who we are, it's because of Bhupenda's music. And you belong to a generation of Zubinda music. So, and his lyrics, you have mentioned also that his lyrics were so important, for you. So I want to ask you also, how many of these songs do you remember, and why you think that his lyrics are important, and that kind of, I want you to focus a little bit on his lyrics.
Wow. First of all, because I read your books, I know like you started with Bhupenda's Mahabahu Manuhe Manuhor Babe in your
Yes.
Assam, the first book you started the introduction, which I've used in my doctoral project as well. So like how Bhupenda, how Bhupenda's lyrics was about, like I said, shared humanity, and what does it mean to be an Assamese, the importance of River Brahmaputra, and how he kind of really put it into perspective of Assamese-ness. Zubinda did it for us and our generation. And at hand, I know at least 1,600 of his songs, because that's my playlist on my Alexa and my app, and I listen to this like every day. And I remember as a child, we had like his collections, all of his cassettes. So we would save money to buy the cassettes when it came out. So Onamika, Wrong, Hobdo, Maya. There are so many.
Maya was an amazing song. I just can hear it on a loop, Yeah.
Like, this is the thing, like the way he even pronounces Assamese words. The fact that I can write in English, sorry, I can write in Assamese, I can think in Assamese, I can feel in Assamese, I can talk in Assamese. is because I have grown up listening to his pronunciations, and I have grown up listening to his songs and his lyrics, the way he pronounces words. And I feel the way he pronounces words, a different way of like reimagining what is love. Why would you fall in love with monsoon? Why would you fall in? And like I said in my piece as well, his songs are like rain in tin roofs in Assam. Like when it rains in monsoons, the sound it makes when the rain falls on the tin roofs, it's like he also has songs for that reference. So like I said, like any emotions, any feeling that in my psyche I can experience, I can feel, I can think of, there's always a reference in his song. There is this Bihu song where he talks about that when your feet, the heels of your feet touch the grass, the sound it makes me fall in love. Like who can imagine that, somebody's heel touching the grass and the sound it makes, you fall in love with it. So his lyrics shows us like how to love, how to kind of express your love, and how to kind of feel the love for somebody else. And it's not just love, like pick up any emotion, like grief. The way he talks about the candlelight, the flickering light of a candle in one of his songs, and grief. The way he kind of makes these comparisons of grief and sorrow and loss and love. It is laid out bare in his songs. And that's why it is like so, that's why I feel it's a personal loss, because any emotion, any feeling I feel, I listen to him. I go back to him. I'm sad, I listen to him. I'm happy, I listen to him. I'm melancholic, I listen to him. I miss home, I listen to him. I'm frustrated, I listen to him. I'm angry at the state, I listen to him. I feel like I'm doing so much work, and I'm feeling like I'm like a machine. There's a reference. He has an album called Zontro, when he
Yes.
talks about how you are a machine. So there is all emotions of my being, my existence has been referenced in his lyrics. So now knowing that, what if I feel a new emotion and there is not going to be a Zubinda who will sing that song? So how do I come to terms that I'm feeling this emotion and then I don't have a reference? So that's it. This is why the loss is so personal for me.
Mm, yeah. And one other thing, I mean, like, yeah, when we are talking about Zubeen as a phenomena, Zubeen who questioned the convention, he was the guy who actually, he was from the Assamese Brahmin community. He threw away his Janeu and he said, I have no religion, I am free. And he was the one who had the guts to even question the Vaishnava the monastic heads.
Yeah.
He would tell them that, you are not the god, you are, those kind of things. He would invariably enter into one controversy or the other and had the power to stand on his 2 feet.
He's ruffled a lot of feathers. Like if you look at his journey of being this icon, this legend, he's ruffled a lot of feathers and he's challenged a lot of status quo. He was never a conformist. He was always a
Mm,
non-conformist. So
true. Mm,
he lived his life in his own terms. And this is why we feel like this unifying glue that held us as a community, who showed us how to live life, is not there anymore. And this is why we are so angry at the organizers, so angry at like, why did you not, you're taking away our legend to a different country. Why didn't you organize his health and safety? Why
mm,
didn't you have the same arrangements like you had for somebody else coming out of the state, coming from a different state to Assam, when you line up health and safety, and you had a doctor with them? Why didn't you provide the same arrangements for Zubinda? He's literally a legend for all of us. You have taken this man who is he apparently he appeared very sick and weakly when he went to Singapore. Why didn't you take care of his needs? You know who this person is. You know what this person means to us. You just did what you just meant. And I'm sure like all of us have seen so many things on social media coming out, how I think one his the Sham Kanu Mohanto's own niece said publicly on social media that in one of the family interactions, apparently he said that Zubin doesn't matter to me, I treat him as a commodity. So that coming out of his own niece and out in the social media, when I read it, I was like so angry. I was so angry, Sangeeta. Like I felt like the rage inside me is like, this person has treated this legend who is so innocent, who is so like an icon for the entire community, and he's so simple minded. He is a socialist. You treat him as a commodity. So it's this clash of these values of humanity, right? Like you let at the altar of corporatizing a capitalist idea of yours, you as a self-appointed custodian of culture, you sacrifice our legend, and that is not okay with me, and that is not okay with the entire community, and that's why all of us are enraged, all of
Yes.
us share this anger.
Yes, absolutely. And you mentioned, I just hope that all the doubts that are there in people's mind are addressed when this SIT submits its report. And these two people, one of the organizers, you say Shamkana Mahanta, and then his manager Siddharth Sharma, they are questioned properly. People should not have anything left in their mind, any doubt. And I hope Himanta Biswa Sharma ensures that happens. Okay, because these people are banking on his government for this. And one other thing you mentioned about his language, I just want to mention that there were words like, say, Bhupenda's music also was a kind of a music about the entire Northeast. Sabaji is kind of a whole cultural bit of the region. You would find the kind of clothes that certain communities would wear, the words they would use, what they would eat, their names. And then in Zubeen also, I found something similar that he tried to do. Like in I'm from Upper Assam, and we have these, some communities, they use this, some tribes, they don't say moi jam, or moi ahilu. They will say ahilung, and he would use that word ahilung, which is actually, when you write in Assamese, you will never write ahilung, you will say ahilu. Okay. So no, that's what the spoken language, because ours is our oral culture. He used all of those things. And the other thing is also, we may look at him as a musician and a cultural icon, but he was also an actor. And I hope that his last film that remained he was working on, I think it's getting published, I think getting released on October 31st, and I'm sure it's going to create a new record in Indian film history, 101%, I'm sure. So, but before I conclude, I want to, I actually want to give you the last word. You as a Zubeen fan, how are you going to, how would you keep him in his memory? How would you remember him, say, 10 years hence?
This is a very, very hard question. Like, I am still processing my grief of not having him there. But before I go into that question, something which I want to share is like the whole of Assamese community is putting their faith and trust on Himanta Biswa Sharma. I hope and I pray, if there is a God, that he's sensing the pulse of Assamese people. And if they are guilty, they be brought to justice. I mean,
Yes.
the community needs answers, right? Like, we have lost such a very big part of our existence. We need answers. And I share that rage and share that anger with everyone. In terms of how would I, so this day 10, I'm still crying. This morning I woke up, I listened to his song and I cried. So for me to come to terms with this grief, I will have to take more time to process it. And it's very difficult living far away from my homeland, far away from my community, to process this grief, because nobody will understand that emotion. So I was trying to share with my friend who was in my flat the other day, and I was trying to tell her, why am I crying? I mean, of course, she was very empathetic. She understood, but it's a very different emotion, Sangeeta. It's like a very
Yes,
different emotion
it
to
is.
even share to a third person who doesn't understand Assamese why we are crying as a community. So for us to hold on, I think it's very important for us to hold on to who Zubinda was. His values, the way he lived his values, is very, very important for us as a community. And this is something which I'm probably very selfish in saying: we should not let Bollywood claim Zubinda. We should not let Bollywood kind of come and say that, like, you can see, like, when the news came out, a lot of, like, the mainstream media was quiet. It only when the algorithm kind of started churning out numbers, they said famous Ya Ali singer. But Zubinda is way more than Ya Ali. He has sang 40,000 songs in 40 languages. I mean, I don't want to compare, but, like, look at Jimi Hendrix or Shay or Bob Marley. to that level, he is this icon for this entire community in northeast of India, a state, a part of the country which was always seen as this borderland, this frontier land, which is securitized, which is highly securitized by the Indian state. So, to an icon coming out from this frontier land, it's very important for us to protect and preserve his legacy. And it can be a physical form, it can be a virtual form, but something that recognizes our cultural icons, Bhupen Hazarika, Zubinda, Khogen Mohanto. Why not have like a cultural icon museum in Assam which showcases
Mm.
all of these works of these amazing legends that we have, which is going to be there even when we are not there in this planet, like 10-50 years later we have a cultural icons museum where we have all of these digitally preserved works. So we need to hold on to all of that and let not others claim Zubinda, because Zubinda was Assamese and he is always an Assamese. He will always be an Assamese.
Absolutely. I fully agree about this cultural museum bit. We had Vishnu Rava, we had Jyoti Prasad Agarwala, and these were, and not just Assam, entire Northeast has this big thing about music as the mover of the public. This is something that is so strong in us. Perhaps I sometimes think about it as something that is linked to our oral culture. The music is something that binds all of us.
Yeah.
And his family has now filed an police complaint, seeking a probe. I just hope that in coming times, not just his family member, but as you said, everybody needs this answer if there was anything hanky panky there, because he was too precious. And I was just thinking about it. I mean, it's like, if musically I have to explain this, what is it that we have lost? Perhaps I would go back to listen to, remember this big famous song of B.B. King, The Thrill Is Gone. I think the thrill of the Assamese community, of the people of the Northeast, is gone.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you. Thank you, Megha. Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much for
much.
giving us time. And I wish you all the best. And Jai Zubinda.
Joy Zubinda. Thank you so much. Bye.